Today we're talking to Leah Thompson. She's drinking a water right now. We're going to be talking about success and Bitcoin. And this is a unique story. Leah, thank you so much for doing this. By the way, I really appreciate this.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for having me on the show. I know that I had you on my show a long time ago, so it's great to get to connect again and get to chat.
Yeah, and I've watched you grow. I've watched you right from the beginning. I remember finding him like, oh my God, you can do so good. I reached out to you and you're doing great, better than what everybody expected. And I'm really, really happy you're doing what you're doing. And I wanted to talk about Bitcoin with you. I want to talk about, that's okay, I'm going to leave this in the video. I want to talk about you as well. This is for the Crypto Factor YouTube channel and the Crypto Factor book part 2. And what I want to know is this, Leah. I want to know what you were like before all this, before Bitcoin. As a matter of fact, if I met you in high school, what would I think about you?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so if you had met me in high school, you would probably have seen me playing my flute in the high school band. Being the band nerd, you'd probably see me on stage as the drama nerd. Um, and so yeah, I was really involved in music and theater, and kind of more on that side of things. I did some sports, but really more on the like kind of creative side of things.
Got you. But how did you learn how to balance on a big wine glass? That's what I want to know.
Way too much time spent on TikTok, that's all.
Got you, got you. So you finished high school and you started working in sales. I remember talking to you about that because I'm a sales guy. You're a sales guy, well, salesperson. What got you into Bitcoin? What kind of how did this evolve into Bitcoin and crypto?
Yeah, so I think that it kind of starts with learning about money and learning about economics and finance in general. And those were not things that I learned growing up. Those were things that I had to just kind of teach myself and learn by trial and error, just by looking at the people around me and saying, you know, is this how I want to live? Just kind of going from paycheck to paycheck, or do I want to figure out why some people can live differently and they seem to be able to build this thing called wealth? Let me figure that out. And
Mhm.
so I really spent some time researching, like, what is credit? What are, learning about economics? Like, what are all these different things? What is this thing called compounding interest? And so I think that's really where kind of the story begins. It's almost two part, where I think that with crypto, you have this intersection of finance, but also this intersection of finding a monetary system that maybe more lines up with my values. And so learning more about economics, learning more about finance, about how to manage money, about how to save and how to invest, that's one side of it. But also, I think that, I come from a little bit more of a freedom and libertarian type of mentality and mindset. And so Bitcoin just seemed like kind of the perfect storm of all of those things coming together.
So you're voting for John McAfee or?
No comment.
When was the first time you heard about Bitcoin? How did you, first of all, when did you first buy Bitcoin or obtain Bitcoin or heard about Bitcoin, depending on what you want to answer on that?
So the first time I heard about Bitcoin was actually in 2011, and so I had a friend that was really into mining and like had all of these rigs set up in his apartment. It was like this whole crazy thing. And so I'd heard about it, and I had a few friends that were into it, and over the years they had told me to buy Bitcoin. But I think my first impression of it was like, well, this is just this super nerdy technical computer thing. I'm like, why would I get it? That's not my thing. Like, I didn't quite compute or translate that what you didn't have to be that deeply involved to get
Right,
involved. And so I really didn't start investing and buying Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies until kind of early mid 2017.
right.
And the real catalyst there, what really changed was that instead of just having, some of my nerdier computer friends telling me about Bitcoin, I started getting involved in a blogging platform called Steemit. And I kind of stumbled across it. I started making content. I started earning crypto. And that was a huge mental shift for me, because once I actually owned some crypto, that's when I started to ask more of those questions. Like, why is this worth anything? what gives it value? You know, at the time I was like, how do I turn it into real money again? Which is funny to think about now.
Right.
But, you know, what are these things called exchanges and hardware wallets and BTC pairs and, you know, all of those different things that you kind of learn when you're first getting into the space. And so I earned my first bits of crypto instead of buying it. And that's part of why I think I really get excited about projects that allow people to have these super easy entry points where they can actually earn crypto. So yeah, I've just been going down the rabbit hole basically since then, and getting deeper and deeper. And now I'm pretty much all into this crypto world.
All right. And who did you learn about crypto? Like, who's your favorite author other than me? Who's your favorite author in crypto?
I have to say Andreas
Yeah.
Antonopoulos, of course, you know, a combination of, you know, reading some of his books and really I'm a very visual learner. And so watching his YouTube videos, you know, when I first started learning more, he was just the one everyone said, hey, you got to go check out his work. And I was not disappointed. It was very helpful.
And what made you get into YouTube? Because you got your own YouTube channel, you're killing it. You're doing all these collabs. You're doing great. What got you doing that?
So I mentioned, you know, kind of early mid 2017, I started blogging on Steemit, and what what happened and what was really unexpected and interesting is that even though I was making content on a crypto based platform, it wasn't about crypto. I was doing ukulele covers. I was, you know, maybe doing like recipes and travel stuff. Like it was just kind of for fun. But a lot of the people that use that website are crypto people, right? And so
Right.
as I started to build a following on there, I started getting requests to speak at crypto conferences. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't make content about crypto. What do you mean? You know, but they were following me on Steemit and they
Gotcha.
just thought it was a cool story and they wanted me to come and speak at their event. So I started traveling around to these crypto conferences, and I just kind of realized, you know, I'd spent a couple of years making content at that point, and I just realized that it was something I really enjoyed. For one, you know, making content, making videos, getting to build a community around you. And you know, I just realized that maybe I should pick a niche and actually start making some more specific content within that. And crypto was just the obvious choice. It was something that I'd spent a few years really developing my knowledge on already, that I'd started investing in on my own. I was starting to go to these crypto events and making friends and doing different things. And so I just figured I would try launching a crypto channel and see what happened. And that was a little over a year ago at this point, and it's really just kind of been a rocket ship ever since. It's been a lot of fun.
So I gotta ask right now, Bitcoin Maxi or Altcoin Hoper? Hey, Paul here. Let me jump in real quick. If you're getting value so far from watching this video, then please consider subscribing down below and hitting that bell notification button. It will help me and you get to watch more videos like this one. Thank you, and let's jump back into the video.
So I would say that I'm kind of a mix between the two. Like if you looked at my actual portfolio percentages, you would think I might lean a little heavier on the Bitcoin maximalist side of things. But in reality, I do allocate a certain percentage of my portfolio to altcoins. And I really do think that there's a lot of great projects that are doing cool things that are meeting different needs in the market that maybe Bitcoin isn't meeting. And obviously there's side chains and, you know, there's other things that we're doing to kind of increase the scalability and the usability of the Bitcoin blockchain itself. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a ton of other great solutions out in the market. And so, so yeah, I really do believe that there's a lot of great things happening in the blockchain ecosystem. But ultimately, you know, when I'm looking at investments, Bitcoin is kind of the first place that I go.
So you stack stats.
Yeah.
Stats. All right, let me get back to Bitcoin. I want to talk a little bit about your success. I want to talk a little bit about your mindset. Then we're going to go back. Then we're going to go a little bit into some gossip at the end. I'm going to put you on the spot. All right. What does success mean to you? Because you are quite successful. And this can be translated in different things. It can be described different ways. But what do you think success is?
You know, I think that that's such a big question.
I'm a big guy.
I just, you know, I think that you're successful if at the end of the day, you're happy with who you are and the life that you've created, whatever that looks like. Obviously, a lot of people might equate success to a certain dollar value or a certain amount of, certain metrics, whatever that is. But, in general, I think that if you are happy in the life that you've created, then you're successful. And that's really all that it boils
Okay,
down
so
to.
let's say somebody wants to get successful with wealth, or let's say somebody wants to get successful on YouTube, or let's say someone wants to become a successful salesperson, just so we can talk about this. What do you think are the keys to success? Are there any fundamental things you need to do? Because, for example, you described going into a niche, so you went all in on something, but what else do you attribute your success to?
Okay, well, I think that if we're using, let's say, YouTube and or, building more financial independence and wealth as kind of filters for this, first of all, I think that taking the time to really learn and educate yourself
Learn.
is really important, because it I think hard work is incredibly important as well, but that whole idea of working smarter, not harder, right? And so spend the time to educate yourself, really learn what's working. Trial and error is another huge thing, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes you stumble on the best ideas just by trying out other things, or it's something not working, or being willing to get out of your comfort zone. I think actually could really apply to both, let's say, content and, doing like building wealth. Like I think that anytime that you are intimidated by something, looking at that and saying, okay, this is just an opportunity for me to grow, and facing it and learning about it and overcoming those hurdles is really how you grow. Like you mentioned, this is a silly example, but you mentioned the wine glass TikTok, which has somehow over 9 million views. I don't know how. But literally, like I didn't plan to do that when I started the video. I was trying to do something else, and I had 30 takes on that video.
Wow.
It kept not working. It kept not looking good. And then on the 31st take, I noticed that it kind of looked like I was standing on the edge of the wine glass. And I was like, that's weird. Maybe there's something there. And so then I did another 15 takes until that looked kind of believable. But I didn't start out making that video saying I'm going to
So
be
what
on
did it
the edge of the
start
wine
out
glass.
as? What did that start out as?
Oh, there was a trend going where people would disappear into a bottle or into
Right.
something. And I thought it'd be funny to disappear into a wine glass, and it kept just not looking good. It did not work.
It's
So,
funny that a lot of companies, a lot of projects, a lot of things that are very famous today started out much different and to what they became after.
mm.
So that is also a key to success. Yes, you start something and you find your thing. It's a very good example anyway. But I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about more about you. What advice would you give people in crypto right now? People that are trying to succeed in crypto or want to be a part of this space.
Oh, I guess it depends what kind of segment of the space you want to be involved in. But generally speaking, if someone is looking to invest in crypto, I think that until you really know what you're doing, it can be very tempting to get into trading and to get into, right now DeFi is the big thing, right? Like get into all of these liquidity pools and, all of these things of trying to find the next small cap gem. There's a lot going on in the industry. But if I was giving advice to like my friend, let's say that I wanted them to have a good experience and maybe a year from now still have their money have done well, I'm going to tell them to buy Bitcoin. I'm going to tell them just to kind of start out and really take the time to slowly and gradually expand their skill set, expand kind of their exposure, because yes, you might be able to get some of these higher returns and some of these other different types of scenarios and situations, but with that comes inherent market risk, right? And so baby steps, I think, are not a bad thing, when you're looking at investing, especially if it's with money that you can't afford to lose, right? And
Right,
so
right.
always just kind of running that filter by yourself of, like I think that playing around with those liquidity pools and yield farming and all of that, like if you're doing it with a percentage of your portfolio that you're like, this is a little something I'm going to play with, that's a
Yeah.
completely different ball game than, you know, getting more leveraging the mortgage on your house to do it, or something, you know, completely irresponsible. And so I'm a big proponent of dollar cost averaging. I talk about that a lot. Just do what you can every month, get in the habit of saving. It does compound over time. You know, in the last bull run hit, I thought I'd missed the boat. I had just barely started buying Bitcoin, only by a few months. And since then, I've been dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin for the last 3 years. And now I'm really stoked for the next bull run
Mm,
because I'm much more set up because I've
mm.
been doing those smaller disciplined steps every month.
It also depends how much money you want to invest. I get a lot of people telling me, "Oh, I really want to invest, and what I can invest. I want to do this. I want to do that." I'm like, "How much you want to invest?" Like $100. Like, Antonopoulos
Right.
has a few books. You could start with those, because the truth is, education is more valuable than actually buying $100 worth of Bitcoin. At least in my sort of idea. What you
Mm,
can do with $100 of Bitcoin is going to what, double, 10x, 20x, depending on which country you live in, of course, because there are
right, right.
countries that could be a lifesaver. But
Hmm.
anyway, any advice for the ladies in cryptocurrency right now in the crypto sphere?
Um, I think, I don't know, like maybe you can like put a little bit more around that question, like in terms of like buying Bitcoin or like making
So people
content
wanting to
or
get into so let's talk about content creation or becoming
okay.
an influencer in crypto, or anything like, or any job in crypto, as a matter of fact.
Mm.
It's a lady. What advice would you give her? Would you give her any different advice than men?
Oh, interesting. You know, I think that the advice I'd really give to anyone is to get their hands dirty and to really I think it comes back to education,
Please be
educate
specific with
themselves.
hands dirty. People could really misinterpret this.
Okay. So, you know, let's say that you want to work in the blockchain space, whether that is getting hired by a company or that is, you know, doing something on your own, starting your own company, doing YouTube videos, doing marketing stuff, like whatever it is. If you want to work in the blockchain industry, I think the biggest thing you can do is really expand your own knowledge base, because that's going to be incredibly competitive. And so I think that more and more companies are going to be looking for people that have knowledge in the blockchain space and industry. And I'm even starting to see this where I'm having more companies reach out to me asking if I do marketing consultancy, right? Which is not something that I even like say that I do, but just because like, oh, but you know the market, you know the crypto industry. And so I think that getting in, when I say get your hands dirty, I mean learn how to use exchanges, learn how to use hardware wallets, you know, learn about all of these different DeFi tools and
Yeah.
how they work. Actually try it out. Watch those videos or read those books by Andreas Antonopoulos. Read Paul's books here. You know, take
Yeah.
the time.
If you're gonna talk about marketing, okay, come on. If you're gonna talk marketing, please.
Right. And so yeah, I just think that the more that you can speak confidently because you've taken the time to actually walk through these different things and learn about them, the more valuable you're going to become, especially if you already, let's say, like you want to work, you have a history of working in marketing, but now you want to work in the blockchain industry. If you've got that combination of both skill sets, that's going to be incredibly valuable. So I can't ever like underestimate the power of education.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, we have failures in our life, and I want to know, because all success is based on failures. We've all failed many times. I've failed. A lot of people have failed. You have probably failed as well. How do you handle your failure?
You know, I know this probably sounds a little cliche, but you know, just trying to learn what you can from it and then don't let it get you down too much and just keep moving. Unless it was like a fatal flaw, you know, and everything really came crashing down and burning. The thing is that doesn't happen as often as people think it does. It might feel like that in the moment. You feel like you're in a house on fire, but guess what? Like a day or two later, people don't care. They're not thinking about it
Yeah.
anymore. You're the only one thinking about it. And so the faster that you can kind of build up those, I think, resiliency muscles of being like, okay, I tried that, it didn't work, I am just going to move on to the next thing, and really analyze why. And maybe if you have close friends or colleagues that you can ask, like I think that building up a network of people that are within your industry that you can have really honest conversations with is incredibly helpful, where you can be like, hey, I thought this was like brilliant and it did not work. Like, what do you like, poke holes in this for me? What do you think I did wrong? Or what could I do differently? And I think that that is really valuable, just to have that kind of circle around you where you guys can kind of help each other out by giving each other really honest feedback.
That said, what's the most embarrassed you've ever been in crypto? Because you're a
Um,
content creator, you're out there. We've all made mistakes. We've all done stupid shit. What was your most embarrassing moment?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I've probably had more than most, because I do a lot of really weird things, I feel like, between different TikToks and different, costumes and things. So,
Were you an elf?
um,
Or that was actually you. That was you dressed up like that, like a
that was
Lord of the
I
Rings
was
stuff.
recently an elf. I actually so the day that we're recording this, I know this will come out in the future, but I am releasing a Lord of the Rings themed Bitcoin video. So yes, I put myself out there a lot in different weird ways. But most embarrassing, I I should have a better answer for this. I think in general, I've tried to learn to not be embarrassed too much. Be like, well, I'm putting this out there. Even if people comment saying this was cringy. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. I know what it is. Okay. I made a
Okay.
TikTok video where I was like, if Bitcoin was a workout, and it was like this song that was like up and down. And it was really, really stupid. And I should actually go delete it. It's really terrible.
Is
But
it getting
like,
views?
oh, I got a few thousand. It didn't go anywhere. No one
Oh, leave
liked
it on
it.
there. I want to take a look.
Everyone thought it was really stupid. So sometimes stuff like that works out, sometimes it doesn't. And I think the more you push the edge of trying things out, putting things out there that make you a little uncomfortable to hit post, I think the more you learn. So I learned from that one, like, okay, that was a little too stupid. Like, that was just a little too ridiculous. So maybe I should, if I'm going to push the edge, I should have a little bit more wit in it, something that just is like a little bit funnier. But, that's why I'm kind of like, it's a learning experience. Like, yeah, I'll probably
Gosh,
look back
start,
at
yeah.
it and be like, oh, why did I post that? But, you
Maybe
learn
if you
from it.
didn't do
So
that, though, it wouldn't have made you do other things and get where you are, though.
potentially, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Here's a difficult one. What is the one question you wish people asked you, but they never do?
Mm. um, Gosh, that's really that is a hard one, because I don't know that I really feel like I get off of interviews very often and I'm like, oh, why does no one ask me
Let
about
me
this?
rephrase it. What
Okay.
is the one question people should ask and they don't?
Mm. I think that I don't know, I might take this in kind of a weird tangent, but I think because I put myself out there in like kind of strange, more lifestyle, kind of fun comedy sketch cosplay kind of ways sometimes, like there's maybe like a certain maybe a certain mentality or mindset that like there's that maybe I'm not like also a serious investor, or that I'm not like really digging into the tech. And so that's kind of why I try to balance that content with
Mm,
more in-depth interviews that I do with people, with doing educational videos and things like that. And so I think that maybe what I would say is just don't always judge a book by its cover, right? Don't always make assumptions based on one or two things that you see. So yes, I think that this kind of more lifestyle type content that I'm making is really valuable, but I think people don't necessarily, they haven't quite drawn the conclusion that there's a method to the madness, that I actually think that there's just as much value in that type of content as the more technical content that I make.
gotcha.
Because I think that, if we're looking at attracting broader audiences, more, those kind of mass consumers that we're talking about, when they look into crypto and all they see is, a bunch of maybe computer nerds that they, you know, they don't see them, if they don't see themselves in it, it can be hard for them to feel like, oh, I belong here. This is a space for me. But if they see, you know, some girl that maybe they feel like they would be friends with in real life that's making a TikTok video or posting an Instagram style photo or something about crypto that is the type of content they would want to consume, that starts to make it feel more approachable. And so I, maybe that's the way I would respond to that, is like, I feel like people don't totally grasp or understand the reasoning behind why I like to make more of that type of content.
Okay, what does a day look like for you? Because you work in crypto, you work, I think you work something else as well. What does your typical day look like? So people can emulate, if you will, or understand what it takes to succeed.
So I'm an early riser. I am a literal grandma, you guys. I go to bed at like 9 p.m. And so I'm I'm in bed early. I'm up at like 5 a.m. I love it. And so I get up and I think for myself, I've realized that I'm the most productive in the morning hours,
Mm,
where for other people it might be different. But I think getting tuned into your own natural rhythm and then leveraging that as much as you can, I think is really powerful, because I think that there's a lot of power in preserving your energy. And so I'm a big fan of batching work that has similar kind of energy outputs, or on similar levels of being draining or time consuming or mentally exhausting. So basically what I'll do is I'll kind of layer my day where I maybe work on one project that's like a little bit easier so I can get a quick win. And then I'll dig into something that's maybe, I know it's kind of dragging me down mentally because I know it's going to be a big task, you know,
like
and then
this
I
interview.
might, no, no, interviews are the fun part. It is good to show up and chat. So, but yeah, so I try to kind of layer my day back and forth between different types of tasks. This might sound silly, but like my best life hack is that I have a treadmill desk and I love it. So,
Really?
oh my goodness, it's great. So I'll kind of, you know, I'll sit on the couch and work for an hour, and then I might
Awesome.
walk for an hour, and I kind of go back and forth. So I'm taking breaks. So I'm very intentional with kind of how I spend my day. And so I do this thing that I call work sprints, where I maybe just pick like one or two things, and I'm like, I turn all notifications off. I don't check my phone. I don't look at anything until those things are done. And then I can maybe take a little break, and then I pick another sprint, and then I do that. And so I really like being able to look at the end of the day and be like, I did this, and this, which I think when you're in the realm of social media, it can be very easy to get distracted, but feel like you're being productive.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's a good thing for me to be replying to comments. Yes, it's a good thing for me to be engaging with other people on Twitter and Instagram and, you know, the different platforms that I use, and that's building community. Those are all really positive things. But if it's not being counterbalanced with
Yeah.
truly productive work, then you never really get anything done. And so, yeah, I think that I have to kind of protect or put kind of guards around myself when I'm working, to not get distracted and not get pulled in, and just get a bunch of stuff done. So at the end of the day, honestly, I finish my day at like 2 or 3. But I start at 5. So, you know, it kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
but I like that. I like being able to just like chill in the afternoon, and then usually I work again in the evening to get some stuff done. But for some reason that cadence just works really well for me. I go super hard all morning and early afternoon, take a break, and then I kind of casually do some things in the evening.
I kind of do the same thing, but depending on when I have my most energy, I'll just laser focus on something. Then I'll just do with a whole bunch of the stuff, and I'll laser focus on something again.
Yeah.
So, do you have any morning rituals or daily habits, since we're talking about this?
You know, I go in and out of different things. Sometimes I'm like really on it, and other times
Wait,
I'm
wait, wait,
not
wait,
so
wait.
much.
Listen, listen, listen. Can you hear him? That's my pit bull.
Oh, your pit
He's got a
bull.
question. He's got a question. Go on, continue, then I'll ask you what he asked.
So the one morning ritual that I'd say I've actually stuck to for several years is I don't look at my phone for the first like 15 minutes I'm up, which sounds like not very long, but I really do try to. I make my coffee. I maybe like pick up the house a little bit if I had dishes left from the night before or something. Like, you know, I just do a couple of things, try to kind of center myself a little bit before I get pulled into all the
Mhm.
notifications that came in while I was sleeping. So I kind of protect that energy, like very, very first thing in the morning. Um, when I'm really on top of it, I'll like meditate and do affirmations and do all these different things. But like I said, sometimes I'm like really good at it, and then I'll have like a month where I haven't done it. So yeah.
Who okay, so let me so I think my dog's asking, can I bring my dog to this interview?
Yes. Oh, dogs are always welcome and appreciated.
Yeah, I know. I bring my puppy here. He's got a couple of questions for you.
Oh, I'm so excited. Who doesn't
Yeah.
want to hang out with puppies?
Oh. So this is Zeus, Theas in Greek. Come
Oh,
here, he's getting a bit big. He's
oh my
getting a bit big.
goodness. What a sweetie.
Yeah, he's a baby.
Oh,
He's a good dog.
oh my goodness. He's
And
beautiful.
he's 4 months old.
Oh,
And he wants to ask who to follow on YouTube. If he wants to get into crypto, if Theas wants to get into crypto, say hi. Hi. If he wants to get into crypto, who should he follow in crypto?
oh, there's a ton of really great people on YouTube. So, you know, I mentioned earlier, Andreas Antonopoulos has a bunch of great videos. I really like the Crypto Larks channel. I think he
Okay.
does a really great job. You know, if you're looking for some really good kind of more like technical videos, Tech with Catalina is a good friend of mine, and she's done some really good deep dives on more technical stuff, but kind of breaks it down in a way that's easier to understand.
Right.
Pomp has some great video content, some really awesome interviews. You know, I could keep going. There's
Yeah,
so
you
many
just you
great
just
people.
mentioned everybody from my Crypto Factor book, part one,
Yes.
except Crypto Lock, because I'm really going to touch on him. Come here.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Here we go. All right.
Oh,
So
what a cute.
if Leah's wanted to buy crypto, okay, and you wanted to be like a crypto mascot, or you wanted to get involved, what would you suggest Leah's to do? This interview is going really not how I imagined it, but
So basically, like what to do for someone that's like first time buying Bitcoin.
yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, I would say there's a lot of different exchange and wallet options out there, and so it can feel a little bit kind of overwhelming. So the first thing to do is to find a good fiat to crypto on ramp that you like, and so depending on where you're located, different things work, you know, in different ways. Like I happen to live in Washington State in the U.S., which has some of the worst regulations. Like nothing works here. I have two good exchange options, and one of them is Coinbase, which you know is what it is. But then Gemini, right? And so you know, look at what's available, do that, and then find a wallet that you like. And so I generally recommend people to look for a non-custodial wallet, which as
Which
you
means
which
a
basically
lot of people
means
don't
that
know.
you have control over your funds. So your bank, for example, would be
Like,
considered custodial, right? So they technically hold your funds. Like if you were to show up and be like, "Can I have my money?" They could actually say no. Like you don't really fully own your funds. And so these exchanges that are custodial, or these wallets that are custodial, it's almost similar to where, let's say they went out of business or something happened, they went under, or they had some bug and they were out, you know, down for a week or something. Like there's nothing you could do about it. You would not have access to your funds. Where something that is non-custodial, it does take a little bit more responsibility, personal
yeah,
responsibility, on making sure that you keep your seed phrase or your private keys safe, but you have full control. And so that's what I think is the most beautiful part of all of this, is that you truly can control your money. And so the nice thing is that this used to be a little bit more Wild West. It used to be a little scarier, but there's a lot of advancements in the technology that have allowed non-custodial wallets to still have a really great user experience. And so a couple of good ones that I like are, like Edge Wallet and Shapeshift. And Edge Wallet, like what I think is kind of cool, like when I talk about the like the tech advancing, is they have something called one-way encryption, where if you lost your private keys, they could actually help you recover it without
Oh
them
wow.
ever seeing it. So it's a one-way encryption, so they can help you, but they never have access to your keys. So we're seeing more wallet options that are, kind of making some of these advancements where it feels like a really good user experience, but they're still staying true to being non-custodial. So yeah, I would say just find one exchange that you like, find one wallet that you like, and just to start out, stick with those two. So use that
Nice.
exchange, turn your money into, let's say, Bitcoin or whatever crypto you're buying, and then just don't leave it there. Put it onto a wallet. But yeah, just kind of learn how to use those two things to start out. And then as you get deeper into it, you can look into hardware wallets or maybe even cold storage if you
Yeah.
want. And I think that the level of security that you use really depends on how deeply invested you are, right? Like if you talked about $100, if you've got $100, you don't necessarily need to have this big fireproof safe where all of these different things, like,
A wallet
where
that
if
costs 110.
right, exactly. Where if, let's say, you've got a few million invested, you might take further
You want your Nano
precaution.
S.
Yeah, exactly.
My puppy uses Exodus to store his Dogecoin.
Oh,
And to be
perfect.
quite honest, I'm not even sure Exodus has Dogecoin support now. Come to think of it, but that was my thing of a joke anyway. I wanted to try and make a joke.
No, Exodus is great too. Yeah, there's a lot of great wallets out there. That's the beautiful thing. So look for one that's been in the market for a while, that's credible, that a lot of people are using. I think those are also maybe good things to look for too.
So Leah, tell me a few more things that you would like to talk about in Success and Bitcoin, and then tell me your information where people can find you, how they can look for you, and all that.
Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, but I really am a fan of dollar cost averaging. I think that, if we're looking at kind of more traditional finance models, you've got this idea of, kind of compounding interest, where let's say if you started investing when you were 20, by the time, even if it's not a huge amount, by the time you're 60, you're a millionaire, right? And that's a beautiful thing. It's the like eighth wonder of the world. But when we're looking at applying some of those same concepts to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, you are going to have, potentially more market fluctuation, but the potential upside is even higher, which I think is really powerful. And so,
I'm sorry, he's just being go on, go on. Can you hear him?
I just a little bit. He's mad that Exodus doesn't support Dogecoin. He's really upset.
I have a shotgun microphone, so you might not be able to hear him, but you can hear me. But it's making all these really funny noises. I'm going to.
Oh, there he is. He's saying bye Dogecoin. No.
Anyway, go. I'm so sorry. It's not my fault. He was barking. My girlfriend's not at home. She's working, so.
No worries.
Yes. Hello. Go on. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Oh, okay. So if we're looking at kind of applying that concept to the cryptocurrency markets, I think that looking at just taking a small amount or whatever you can afford, there's a couple different ways to do it. Some places actually have automatic monthly withdrawals. Like I know Gemini has that, where you can be like, okay, I'm gonna, save, let's say $300, $400, $500 a month. And so I'm just going to automatically have it. Or some people, they might at the end of the month look and see how much extra they can invest. But basically just start building. And it might not be the quick get rich overnight, though,
Yeah.
100,000% APY on some yield farm, which is happening. So, like people are making crazy returns, but ultimately it's, I think, a long-term, it's just a really good strategy, especially if you're newer into the world of investing. And again, I just think that making more just kind of smart money decisions with that larger percentage of your portfolio, and then playing, a little bit more with the smaller percentage and some of these like riskier types of things, I think is important. So just get started, get your feet wet, get in. I think that's kind of the best advice. And I think just the fact that you're not too late. into this. Like
Exactly.
people always think that, you know, they're like, oh, Bitcoin went to $1,000, it's too late. It went to, you know, 5,000, it's too late. And so if you believe in kind of the long-term potential value of this asset class, which is still very, very, very small comparatively in the larger, you know, kind of financial realms, then like that's not something that I have a problem holding long term. I'm excited about that. Like, yes, it hurts when the market is bleeding a little bit, but I don't really care. I'm not really looking at that because the majority of my holdings are that they're holdings. I'm holding on to them for a while, you know? And so, yeah, I just think do what you can, get involved. And like, it should hopefully, this is not financial advice, but it should hopefully be something that sets you up in the long run. And that's what I think is so exciting in a lot of ways about all of this is I think that the cryptocurrency markets are going to be creating the next generation of wealth. And for people to view that as, you know, potentially it is riskier, right, than some of these more traditional vehicles, but as something that might really empower their future financial success. I mean, that's a risk that I'm willing to take. I'm also pretty young, so I have that, right? So if
How
I
old are
had to
you?
start over,
How
oh,
old are
I'm
you?
not, a lady never admits her age, but
But I am.
but you know, I think that obviously you have to temper your level of risk with kind of where you are in terms of your own kind of investment in potential retirement strategies. But if you know, this is something that you have the opportunity to maybe take a little bit more of a chance. I think the amount of things that are being built in the blockchain industry, the amount of usage, the amount of big companies that are currently investing in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, there's a lot of really bullish signs. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's all going to go crashing and burning, but I don't think so. And I'm pretty excited to see what the next 1 to, you know, 5 years and then 10 years and on holds for this space.
98% of people statistically will be broke anyway. You might as well take the chance. That's the way I know it sounds crude and really bad, but it's the truth. So I think it'll be the chance for a lot of people. By the way, I do want to apologize for the doggy break
Oh,
in this video. And it's no disrespect to you, Leah. You know I respect you a lot. And I know you're not typically supposed to let a dog in on an interview, but hey, this is crypto, but there's no disrespect to you. I really love what you're saying. And remember those embarrassing moments we were talking about?
oh,
There you
hey,
go. I have my puppy here biting my leg.
puppies make everything better. I'm just jealous that I don't have one. That's all.
He's
That's
a
where
good
this
dog.
is.
I've been training him since I got him.
Oh,
And it's funny because I was here's something that a lot of people don't know how to handle failure. I was suffering through depression for a while,
mm,
and clinical depression. I was
mm,
crying in my sleep, crying in the day, crying all day, and so on. And that was because, for the people that don't know this, I was fighting cancer 4 years ago. I got better. Then my sister got cancer. My mother got cancer. They both died. When my mother got cancer, meanwhile my dad had 2 heart attacks. There was a whole scene, and she died in my arms. And since then,
oh
I
no.
just couldn't take it anymore. I'm a go-getter. I'm a boom. Let's go. Let's do this. But I just lost it. So I
Mm,
was in depression, working with depression. A lot of people don't know this. And this little guy saved my life. And it's funny because
oh,
I'm obviously I'm still sad. I still miss her a lot. She was everything to me. But this little guy makes me forget, and he gives me so much
mm,
happiness, and it fills me with so much happiness that I actually didn't know I could feel it again. And it's funny.
oh.
But now it's kind of like good memories. And even though I'm sad, I know what she would say to him. And if you guys need, really, key to success, if you feel depression or anything like that, grab yourselves a puppy.
Mm.
Really, I've been training this guy since I got him. Like I got him at 2 months, almost 2 months. And I've been training him from the first day. He does all basic commands. He's a really good dog. He listens, he's smart.
Oh.
Is a bit of a, and he just wants to say thank you. Woo-hoo! He wants to say thank you for doing this interview. I want to say thank you for doing this interview. I really appreciate you. Guys,
Mm.
check out Leah's. Oh, Leah, tell us where people can find you.
Oh yeah, I got on such a rant. I forgot. I'm sorry. It happens. Maybe it's just that I got distracted by the cute puppy. There's
He's
that
cute.
possibility too. So yeah, I'm on pretty much any social platform that people hang out on. So you can definitely find me on Twitter. That's probably my most active platform, but I'm definitely on YouTube as well, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the places. So if you just type in Girl Gone Crypto, I should
Go
pop
on
up.
crypto, yes. And also, I see your site is leahlovescrypto.com, so they can find you there. And
Yeah,
your YouTube
Girl
channel,
Gone
I'll leave it linked
Crypto.
up and everything as well.
Perfect. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, leahlovescrypto.com is probably the easiest place to go because you just scroll to the bottom and all of my social links are right
It's a
there.
nice site too. It's a beautiful site, by the way.
Thank you.
And so, guys, check out Leah's stuff, and check out the Crypto Factor. I'll leave a link down below. This is part 1. She's going to be in part 2, so you can see more on that. I am going to ask you some questions for the book that's separate to this interview, by the way, so they're only in the book, but we'll do that at a later time. And yeah, thank you, Leah. And my dog just peed on my carpet, and there's nothing I can do about it because I'm on video.
Oh, no. Zeus, come on, behave
And
back there.
and it's just going and going and going.
Oh,
And it's
no.
the most pee he's ever done in his life on my car. And I wasn't even bringing him. So, oh my God. Thank you, Zeus. So,
Still
thank
working.
you.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate you having me on. Good luck with Zeus. And
Bye bye. Take care.
bye. Oh.
I really don't believe this.
Did he really just pee?
He just peed the